My name is Donnell Davis, and this is another video via the Blue Room. We've all seen Maury and the people who inhabit his show having some of the craziest confessionals on relationships you could see. Lie detector tests, DNA tests, the like. And there are people that I've known in real life that actually go through similar situations, myself included. And it does strike me as odd on why some of these people will go on national TV to really embarrass themselves. I mean, it makes for good TV, I suppose, but I just never really understood that, especially when some of them have some of the most blatant evidence you could actually see. But in terms of that, you know, any relationship can be salvaged, and what you make of it is what you will. And, you know, it's like anything. You only get out what you put in. And some balances aren't quite as balanced as they should be. You know, I'm a case in point into that. I've been in relationships that are where I've been the top guy, so to say, and there's been others in which I haven't. And I just wanted to talk about some of the things that I see and to help you avoid an inevitable trip to the Maury show. So usually the personality types, and this isn't gender wise, because men and women tend to just look for different things, but the personality type, no matter what the gender, is just usually a good person attracted to a bad person. Opposites attract, and it's just a fact of life. You rarely see the nice guy and nice girl to actually get together unless they've known each other a very long time and they decide to just go with each other. But the random encounter usually doesn't go in the favor of just all-out the true connection of just two good people. That generally doesn't happen out that way. And I like to call it the Maury Complex. You met somebody, you've been with them for about, like, I'll give it average about 4 months. And then the things start to change. There's some things that should be immediately telling you whether or not you're in a bad situation. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the cheaters that particularly cohabitate shows. I'm basically picking on Maury because it's the show I watch the most, but it's basically on other shows where they have like where they bring the clothes on the show. So if you are bringing an article of clothing, especially women, I see do this a lot. Men don't tend to find another man's drawers in the house and want to bring them on TV. But women will find extra, like another woman's makeup, stuff that know they don't belong to them, and they want to take it on TV. My advice is, if you find said things, and about 99% of the time the man will deny it, and then it's just a waste of time. But the smartest thing to do would be simply to throw them out, and this is whether or not they're guilty or not, because you don't necessarily you will never catch a rat red-handed unless you catch him red-handed. That was one of just my biggest gripes that I had on the show. It's like, if you are carrying physical evidence that you know that stuff isn't yours, well, naturally it'll be the confrontation, but those things never tend to go well. And it's definitely better to take the wind out of the sails of that type of heat, because that's how domestic domestics happen, and there's no real need to get anybody thrown in jail, but over some poo-tang. And another thing is, if they're friends, like if you're friends with your other's friends, and they're trying to give you that little subtle warning and stuff. I see a lot of women a lot of people, because I keep picking on women, a lot of people, even including myself in this one, gets blatant evidence on people seeing your significant other with somebody. This is something of, for me, this is like Days of Futures Past. but when those situations come up, give it a little bit of thought. Please do not let warnings like that just simply slide on by. Because what ends up happening is the thing that people end up being hurt by the most when it comes to cheating in general isn't necessarily the cheating in and of itself. It's very painful, but it isn't the worst part of it. It's the lie that comes with it. Lies break trust. There's been people that I've seen that have cheated, and then they admitted it, and then things ended up fixing themselves out a lot better, other than people who go on there and deny. Even if your denial, if your initial response is denial, if your conscience is getting if those who actually have a conscience when they do it come across having one, then if your relationship you feel is worth saving, then it's better that even bad news comes from the person whom did the deed, and no one should have to go looking. Now, I understand the lie detector part, why when we go on the show, if a guy stays in constant denial but has no real proof, alright, give it a shot. But if you're sitting there with people with third-party views or physical evidence, you probably should just avoid going on the show, and you're in a bad situation. Like I said, I'm going for about 4 months. And if a person has a history, when you're getting to know them, if that question ever comes up and they have answered, yes, I've cheated in the past and stuff, you can have turn an eye up, but it don't necessarily mean not to trust them. But if they're giving you concrete evidence, if a police officer found the murder weapon and fingerprints of a person that had them ID'd, they will go and arrest them. Because when the evidence is pointing in a particular way, it's really hard to dispute that. So the people who find physical evidence laying around and such like that, please just do not go on the Maury show for further confirmation. Just simply, it probably is a great idea just to go ahead and end things. And for those whom are guilty of taking a phone, stop that. It's better to let certain things play out, other than going to go look for the reason. If somebody's cheating, don't go looking for the reason. Live your life, and then leave it in the hands of either, if you don't believe in God, just the law of averages, because even the slickest criminals make mistakes. And domestics, it's more a crime against the heart. And the slicker a person is, the easier it will be to spot a mistake. And there's some bad thing, and relationships that tend to end up like this are happen at like a whirlwind pace. You guys started, the random encounter starts off one night stand, maybe it doesn't want to stay that way, and things start to go really quick. But at some point you have to try to not react on the impulses of physical attraction, and try to get to know that person, especially if on the 4-month period if the majority of the relationship is these random encounters. You don't want that, because eventually, you may you may like what you're receiving in terms of the bedroom experience, but you may not like the way they upkeep themselves. So that's just another thing. And if you're in a relationship that just ain't working, or the aforementioned cheating lie detectors, the Maury Complex. If you're stuck in that, do not have kids. If you haven't, if you've had unprotected sex and it happened that way, that's not the same as just trying to knock a person up, or a person getting knocked up to try to save a relationship. Or do not propose if things are going really badly. Those things make things stronger, great for maybe a few months. But if a person is getting on your nerves, well, and especially from a guy's perspective, if you're making your chick mad all the time, making them pregnant is going to be a hell of a lot worse. Just trust me when I say that. And ladies, if your guy proposes to you and he was a dick before, there's almost a guarantee that he's going to be a bigger dick afterwards, because he's going to just try to keep curbing a way to stay, and a lot of people whom already hit their end know that it's inevitable, will never let a person go whom they feel is a fool, and feel that they can get away with anything and everything with. Don't be that person, because the moment you become that person, no matter what side of the ball you sit on that, whether male or female, you end up sticking yourself in a bad situation. You're impeding your own progress as much as that person is impeding your progress. So don't do that. And lastly, things to try if you really are into something, or you hit some rocky thing. Some rocky things. The most common one is the most common piece of advice: spicing up that sex life, making it good, making it something new to hit. But that usually isn't the case. It's necessary. It's the recapturing what was in the beginning, mystery. Your chick has a long day at work. This is a new phenomenon going around. It's called listening, guys. If your woman is actually talking about having bad days at work, save up a few extra coins. Send some anonymous flowers. Yes, and make them anonymous at first, and let her start talking about, some guy sent me some flowers at work today. More than likely, they'll suspect you immediately. But the thing is, just play along, and just make it a little bit of a game. Let the love become public. You would be amazed on how well that tactic works. But if you can't simply afford to do something like that, I understand. Even if it's something as simple as dropping off some McDonald's, show up to work, be some lovey-dovey. But the next level is to make it to where that you become something that your significant other wants simply beyond. It creates an external view. Now, unfortunately, my advice is flip-worthy for the players and cheaters to use these things too. And your own personal experience with your mate at this point would be the indicator whether or not it's sincere or not. But for those who wants to take this advice to heart and be sincere, the little small public displays, holding hands, kissing, go so far. But the grandiose things like the old Romeo and Juliet era, yeah, those hit home almost all the time. And if you made it to the end of this video, I give you 2 likes. And thank you. I hope you take the advice to heart.